The entertainment world was thrown into chaos tonight as newlyweds Yu Long and Yang Mei Mei, who had tied the knot in what many called the fairy tale wedding of the year, suddenly appeared at an unannounced emergency press conference. With barely 2 months having passed since their lavish ceremony, fans expected the pair to still be basking in marital bliss. Instead, what unfolded on stage was a storm of tension, emotion, and revelations that not only stunned the live audience, but sent shockwaves throughout the global fan community. From the moment the couple walked in, it was clear that this was not an ordinary announcement. Their expressions were strained, their steps unusually slow, and the space between them much larger than anyone anticipated. The press hall was buzzing with speculation long before they spoke. Rumors churned through the crowd from pregnancy to divorce to a secret scandal, but none of them could have predicted what the couple was about to reveal. When the two finally stood behind the podium, Yu Long gripped the microphone with trembling fingers, clearing his throat several times before uttering the first words of the night. "Thank you for coming on such short notice," he said, his voice unusually hoarse. "We know this announcement will raise questions, and we're prepared to answer them truthfully." His eyes did not meet Mei Mei's, and for many watching, that was the first sign that something had gone terribly wrong behind the scenes. Yang Mei Mei stepped forward next, her hands clasped in front of her so tightly that her knuckles paled. "We didn't want it to come to this," she began, speaking with an unsettling calmness that hinted at exhaustion rather than peace. "We didn't want it to come to this, but the situation has reached a point where we can't hide it anymore. We owe the truth to ourselves and to everyone who has supported us." Cameras flashed violently as reporters leaned forward, their pens hovering, waiting for the bombshell. A brief silence followed, the kind that seems to stretch endlessly across the room, before Yu Long finally delivered the first wave of the shocking revelation. "2 weeks ago," he said slowly, "Mei Mei and I made the difficult decision to separate temporarily." Gasps erupted across the room. Reporters gestured wildly for microphones, and the live broadcast chat exploded in a frenzy of disbelief. But Yu Long wasn't finished. "He's not divorcing," he continued sharply, likely predicting the immediate assumptions. "This isn't the end, but we're facing challenges that we underestimated, pressures, misunderstandings, and personal struggles that have grown heavier since the wedding." His admission cut through the hall like a blade. No one expected the perfect couple, adored by millions, to confess so bluntly to marital instability so soon after their wedding. Yang Mei Mei then added her own devastating layer of truth. "I want to be honest," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "Marriage is not what I imagined it would be. We rushed into things because we believed love alone could hold everything together. But life is more complicated than romance, and love itself can suffocate when surrounded by expectation." She paused, exhaling shakily. "I broke down several times. I didn't tell him. I didn't tell anyone. I thought it was weakness, but now I realize hiding it was worse." Her confession was raw, fragile, and painfully human, a stark contrast to the glamorous persona the public had come to expect from her. Reporters immediately fired questions at the couple, but the pair remained composed, answering each with unexpected candor. When asked about the reason for their separation, Yu Long responded with unfiltered honesty. "We argued," he admitted, "more than people know, about work, time, family expectations, and even about what our marriage is supposed to look like." His voice softened as he continued. "There were moments when I didn't recognize myself, when I felt like I was failing her. And instead of talking about it, I withdrew. I thought distancing myself would make things easier, but it only made things worse." His admission revealed a vulnerability that no one anticipated, a glimpse into the emotional strain that fame often hides. One of the most shocking moments of the conference came when young Mei Mei revealed that their relationship began crumbling long before the public noticed anything was wrong. She said, "The viewers saw our wedding, but they didn't see the nights afterward when we barely slept from stress. They didn't see how quickly joy turned into fear. I was terrified of disappointing him, and he was terrified of disappointing me. We stopped being partners and became performers in our own home." The room fell silent as her words sank in. Even the harshest reporters seemed momentarily taken aback by her sincerity. When a journalist asked whether family pressure played a role in their struggles, Yulong hesitated before speaking. Some, he admitted. There were expectations from both sides about how we should behave, how soon we should expand our family, and how our lives should look now that we're husband and wife. It was too much, too fast. He sighed deeply, the weariness obvious in his posture. We didn't have the space to simply be ourselves. Once again, the couple peeled back the glamorous facade the public adored, exposing a reality that felt far more relatable and far more heartbreaking. The climax of the conference came in its final minutes, when young Mei Mei placed her hand lightly on the podium and delivered a line that left the entire hall breathless. "We're not here to end our marriage," she said softly. Her voice fragile, but carried a conviction that surprised everyone, including, it seemed, Yulong himself. He turned toward her the first time that night, and for a brief moment, the tension between them softened. "We want to rebuild," she continued, "not as the perfect couple the world wants us to be, but as two flawed people trying their best." Yulong echoed her statement with the final promise. "We're stepping back from public appearances for a while. We need time, real time, away from cameras, away from expectations, and away from the spotlight. We owe each other the chance to try again, from the beginning." As the couple bowed to the press, the room filled with flashes and questions, but the conference was abruptly ended by their management, leaving journalists scrambling and viewers stunned. Outside the venue, fans gathered in tears, confusion, and disbelief. Social media erupted instantly, some expressing heartbreak, others offering support, while a few speculated wildly about what might happen next. But amid the chaos, one thing became painfully clear. Beneath the polished glamour of celebrity life lies a truth more complicated, more fragile, and far more human than anyone had ever imagined. And tonight, Yulong and Yang Mei Mei finally revealed theirs. Unfiltered, unpolished, and undeniably real. Outside the press hall, chaos unfolded the moment the doors closed behind the couple. Crowds of fans, many of whom had rushed to the venue after seeing the emergency announcement online, were crying openly, clutching banners and wedding photo prints that now felt painfully ironic. Some shouted questions into the air as if hoping the couple would turn back and answer them. Others simply stood frozen, staring at the exit where Yulong and Mei Mei had disappeared, unable to process how quickly the fairy tale had switched into a tragedy. Meanwhile, reporters swarmed the corridor in an attempt to catch a final glimpse of the pair as they were escorted by security into a private elevator. In the brief seconds before the doors closed, Yulong could be seen reaching out just slightly, as though he wanted to hold Mei Mei's hand, but he hesitated mid-air, and the moment vanished as the elevator sealed shut. That small, unfinished gesture became one of the most discussed still frames of the night, circulating online within minutes with captions like, "Was he about to hold her hand?" and "This moment breaks my heart more than the announcement." Inside the elevator, away from the flashing cameras and screaming voices, the atmosphere was thick with everything left unsaid. Mei Mei leaned against the wall, closing her eyes, as if the weight of the world had finally settled on her shoulders. Yulong stood beside her, rigid and silent, struggling between the instinct to comfort her and the fear of overstepping the emotional distance still lingering between them. When he finally gathered the courage to speak, his voice was quiet but deeply sincere. He murmured, "I didn't know saying it out loud would feel so heavy." Mei Mei opened her eyes slowly, exhaustion etched into every line of her face. She whispered back,